Hello, this is Patti Boo Rae. Chatti Patti. Welcome to Chatti Patti, a podcast from Curious Arts. I'm Patti Boo Rae, and today I am joined by Yve Anthea Ngoo. Hello, Yve.
Hello, Patti.
Yve, I'm very excited about this because Yve has been in the creative industries for nearly 4 decades.
Over 4 decades.
For over 4 decades, rounding down. You are a very diverse and wonderful creative. You've got your fingers in a lot of pies. Initially in media production, direction, and script writing. She spent many years as a freelancer and working with BBC Nations and Regions. I first came to know Yve as someone with a fabulous flair for fashion and textiles and a maker of props and costumes for dance, theater, film, and also you do individual commissions, I believe. Yeah. So if anybody wants an Yve original, we could make that dream come true.
We can make that. I've got a lot of dreams lined up for people, but I just love making.
We can put you on the list. You can get in line after me, of course. Yeah. Yve, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So I would just love to know, first of all, what makes you tick in this wonderful constellation of all of these creative pursuits? What was your kind of entry point into the arts? Was there something that you saw or heard or wore that made you say, I've got to be doing this?
I think I was, it's very much a cliche, but I was into musicals from the age of about 4.
Oh, God.
Because my mum watched them and I loved musicals. I loved the fact that you'd be watching something and all of a sudden it'll burst into song, and I thought that was normal. And the costumes and the storylines, I loved all of that. I like music, obviously. And I think I just was brought up around music and around the theatre and just around being, you can be creative, and what you see on television, is as real as you want it to be. I am an avid film and television watcher. I don't shy away from the fact that I do use it as a portal. So really, it's to see how other people use the arts and choose certain creative industries to make themselves happy, to make a living, and to entertain other people.
Did you have a favourite musical?
Gypsy.
Gypsy! Mm-hmm. Oh my God, excellent choice.
And I do like Sweet Charity, and I do like Cabaret. I love Sweet Charity. It's out there. And Sound of Music. Every time it's on television, I watch it, and I say I'm not going to. And the minute they get to that bit where she's got to go and leave the convent, I'm glued.
Like, all right, well, I'm in.
And I want to marry Mr. Von Trapp.
Oh my God, who doesn't?
He was gorgeous.
Who among us?
Very lovely.
I know. So do you do any work with musical theatre these days? Because I know that you do some work with dance. You did some
work with Rendezvous.
With Rendezvous, yeah.
Done a little bit of Rendezvous. Musical theatre, I haven't done a great deal. I've done individual costumes for drag. Worked on costumes for theatre, especially like Christmas theatre, panto. But I'm very much into learning more about dance. I think it's a fabulous medium. It's a medium that I didn't realise just how integral clothing was, because it's another character.
Of course.
But you've also got to be careful what you make, because you can't go around lifting your legs and doing all sorts of things. Everything's got to be made for dance, but not made to look like it's for dance.
It has to move in exactly the right ways.
And it's got to light up properly. So it's a whole new way of working, which I've really enjoyed. I also love to watch, for example, I'll work with Rendezvous Dance, and I'll watch Matthew, the choreographer. He will direct dance, and it's just another way of working. It's mesmerising how people can use their bodies without words and actually tell a story. It's wonderful.
Do you find that your process for designing is different when you are designing with a character in mind, as opposed to, doing a commission for a person, for something they're going to be wearing in the world?
I do like working to any kind of brief. If someone says, just go ahead and do it, I might be using an idea I've already got. I might be actually not stretching myself. But if someone gives me a brief, I can go and do all my research about it. I can talk to people about it. I can go to libraries. I watch films. I read, and you get to know so much more about the history of the area and what people would have worn. Everything down to what fabrics you're going to use, because people weren't wearing polyester in 1930.
So I was going to ask you about this because I know that you are passionate about sustainability in your practice. So when you're working with costumes, like how do you go about sourcing materials? How's your approach to sustainability evolved over time?
Well, a lot of it's evolved through necessity. At one time, there was a haberdashery in every city, every town, every department store had a big haberdashery, and that was a place you went to buy your fabrics, to buy your patterns, to buy your buttons, to find out what was in fashion.
Yeah.
Nowadays, there's very, very little in the way of haberdashery, especially up in the northeast. Everything's online. It makes everything cheaper, but you are very, very limited to what quality and what you can buy. So if I'm doing something like a period drama, I will go to charity shops. I will buy things from charity shops. I buy a lot of curtains and make things out of velvet curtains. I do a lot of dyeing. That's a lovely thing.
That'll be the Sound of Music coming through.
Exactly.
Early influence.
Very honestly, I thought they were wonderful outfits.
They're beautiful.
I don't know why you complained about them.
They're gorgeous.
Anyhow, I do like looking at colours, looking at dyes, looking at what people wore, how much they wore them as well. There wasn't that throwaway culture. Things were worn, they were mended, the buttons were changed, hems went up, hems went down. I mean, there's so much to learn about the history of fashion, especially when you're working with a character, because not only are you doing the costumes, like what would this character have chosen, what would this character have worn, or what would they always have worn if they were poor or if they were rich, if they were, especially, that if you think about dandies and people who cross-dressed in Edwardian times, Victorian times, where did they get their clothes from? How did they dress? Who dressed them?
Where did they get their clothes from?
Well, I heard, now you might know this, I don't know, the term drag.
Yeah.
Supposedly it came from around about Shakespearean times, when there was no women were allowed on stage. So young boys would actually become the women, like the principal boy, like in a pantomime.
Sure. Yeah.
And the dresses they wore were often too long for them because it belonged to an adult. Or my great-grandma, used to weigh her dresses down with these, what they call lead pennies. Now, if you were rich, you'd use a real penny, and you could put up to 100 pennies in a dress on the hem, and it kept all that heavy fabric down. But if you were a young 13-year-old boy, you were dragging that heavy dress across a wooden stage.
I never knew this. I'm so embarrassed. I never even thought to look it up.
Well, you don't know everything.
No, this is incredible.
So you're dragging it. And that's where your drag queen came in.
Wow.
Da-da-da. But
God, I bet they were heavy.
I've actually felt a crinoline one from my grandmother, and hers was great-grandmother, sorry. Hers was turn of the century, and it was just a linen dress. But when you picked it up, it was so heavy because it was weighed down. Now, you still can buy these leads for, like, when we're doing costume and that, you've got to weigh things down to get that feel. But yeah, if you were a little boy and you were dragging it along the stage.
That is fascinating. Wow.
So that's it.
I'm so glad
But don't believe everything I tell you.
Well, it sounds good to me.
Oh,
I
like it. I like that idea. But
readers,
you can
check, do your own research, let us know.
Around about Shakespearean times, but there was the principal boy, because women weren't allowed on the stage because they were either seemed to be a prostitute or a loose woman or immoral. So there wasn't such a thing as a woman on stage, unless they were racy and naughty. So they've got the boys in there.
How interesting. Yve, I would love to know what grinds your gears. Is there anything at the moment that's just really getting under your skin?
Yeah. Young people on mobile phones when you're trying to teach.
Yes.
Mobile phones in the classroom. I found it really affected when I was doing teaching, and I still do a lot of teaching now. And funnily enough, community teaching groups, they don't get the phones out. They actually are so into that experience and wanting to learn. But when you go into the education system, a lot of young people are just sitting on the phones. You're trying to teach, and I don't want them to not have a phone, but I'd like to think for that hour when you're teaching that the phone goes off. And it's also how it's influencing, young people as well. Things that they can see on phones that you don't want anyone to see under a certain age or whatever. I think we're going backwards in that way, definitely, when it comes to rights for women, rights for people trans, queer, LGBT, any minority. Whatever you feel, you'll go on the phone, you'll find someone saying something terrible, something abhorrent, something, that is actually going to create hatred, or it's going to create the wrong attitudes towards women. There's a lot to deal with there.
I just find that my phone is just like an open tap. It's just always all the way on. Rush.
Yeah. You can't help yourself.
No,
I know. Help yourself.
I know, and I feel like it's become in some ways like an extension of myself and my mind, such that when my phone is dead, it's kind of uncanny. It's like I feel like my hand is dead or something.
And also in your own self, like on a Sunday, I'll say I'm going to have the phone off until Antiques Roadshow comes on, probably, or no, after Antiques Roadshow, and after I call the midwife. Anyway, I'll keep
Sundays. I like a busy day. Yeah.
I like having the phone off, but I start panicking because my mother starts. Where have you been? What are you doing? And I'm sure there's a helicopter or a drone outside if I don't have the phone on for more than, have the phone off for like a couple of hours. People start looking for you. People start, where are you? Are you all right? It's like, well, yeah, I haven't got my phone on. So you panic yourself and you feel guilty for not having, it's ridiculous.
It's bad. We have got to change it.
But I can't live without it.
No, I know. But also like with work and stuff, I feel like you're expected to be contactable. Any like you don't really, you're always on call. Oh, it's not nice.
But also having to answer emails now on phone. I mean, for your age group and people a bit younger than me as well, that's normal. But one time it was just you only answered your emails in work and at work time. You didn't take them out of the office. Now I'm checking emails as much as I'm checking the text, as much as I'm checking the WhatsApp. It's just part and parcel, and you could become overwhelmed.
Yes.
But if you forget about it, you think, I'm missing out.
But you're usually not, I would say, when you get back to it.
No,
although sometimes
not.
you miss something important, but not very often.
No, honestly, you're not. But you feel I think we're conditioned to actually feel that if we haven't got our phone on the end of our hand, like Edward Scissorhands had knives, we've got a phone and it's attached.
Speaking of phones, the idea for the sort of loose format of this show is that when I moved to the UK from Texas, years and years and years ago, but I used to call back home to my friends and my sisters, and we had a little format that we'd do to catch up, and we'd say, ask for advice, share dreams, air grievances, and make confessions. And that's how I kept in touch with my sisters, especially for years. So that's how we've got our little phone here.
But that'll always, if you do those four things, the conversation is never going to be stilted.
No, exactly.
Because they've always something to confess, always deep down. The dreams, always a dream.
Well, okay, so you've aired a grievance about these phones in class, which I think is completely justified.
And my next grievance is I'm constantly on Trump watch, and I know everybody is.
Oh God!
I'm constantly on Trump watch.
You don't want to look away.
You can't.
It's fine if you do, because you'll find out. Like sooner or later, if you need to know, you will find out. But I just don't. I don't like the idea that
we looked away for too long, because the period when he wasn't there, we looked away.
This is the
thinking
truth.
that Obama or whoever was going to the last one, poor Biden. We thought that's going to be fine now.
R.I.P.
And what were they plotting and planning? What's happened?
I know.
What's happened? And it actually genuinely makes me physically sick, and I get very upset about it.
How do you find, are you able to sustain a creative practice in the face of all of this upset and everything that's going on? Like, do those things get in the way of you accessing your creativity in the way that you'd like to?
I would say the last 5 years, especially, I mean, with COVID, This when I really started to get into the community side of arts as a well-being, arts as a way of getting people together again, and I found people really appreciated it. People who had been stuck in the house, people who hadn't any communication. We started doing creative things with them, and sometimes it was online. And when we could get together, we got together. And it's the crafting, art, writing, all the self-expression has actually come from this terrible thing of being locked down. Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, a lot of the movement around gender, around equality, around race has all come after lockdown or just before lockdown. There was something happened, a change. I can't explain it, but something happened. And it has carried on now. And when like today, I was working with families, children, queer families, blended families, and it was just a lovely group of people getting together and making something or expressing that the children were having a good time, the dads were doing it, the mums were doing it. It was just a lovely, and the majority of the people there had some connection to LGBTQ causes or were LGBTQ themselves. And people who I'd never seen before in my everyday hanging around this area of North Shields have come out especially for this event because they know it's going to be a welcoming event. It's going to be an event where no one's going to ask questions about anything. They're just going to get on with it and treat people as they should be.
Yeah.
And it's a very safe space. And I prefer that to anything I've done for a long time because, I haven't got to explain myself. They haven't got to explain themselves. We're just getting on with it and enjoying. And
it's funny, isn't it? Like, I do find that in person out in the world, most people are like that. Most people aren't there to, demand explanations from you and just generally be nasty. But I think it's that minority, that small group of people just puts you always on edge and you're like ready for it to happen.
You are. Sometimes when it doesn't happen, for days on end, you think, oh, the world's a nice place. And then all of a sudden, something will happen to you or something will be said or something will be said about somebody else. And you think, oh, that's grinding my gears a little bit. But when do you choose to actually stand up and say, because I've heard things on a train before and I once stood up and said anything and no one backed me up. Just things in public. But sometimes you've got to look after yourself as well. Because the people who are going to do it, it means nothing to them. They don't care who they're hurting. They want to actually be seen as the aggressor, the kind of people who put bait on, you read in your Facebook and someone will put a nasty comment. And of course, everyone jumps on it. Who are these people in reality?
And you're not going to change their mind probably, but you could, show someone else there that you are, that they're not, they're not alone in that situation.
Yeah, and that's the main thing. It's just, you're right there, it's about not being alone because you can be amongst hundreds of people every day but feel lonely if you haven't got someone who can understand or empathise or someone who's been through what you've been through. You need that ally. Everybody needs somebody.
Well, Yve, seeing as we're here with all of our readers, I wonder if you'd like to make a confession.
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's not right. Well, not people know I'm married to an American man. And
I don't know if I knew that.
Nobody knows, even I can't remember the date. No, what it was in the late 90s, before civil partnerships and gay marriage was allowed, a lot of people married somebody to stay in the country, and it was an American man and his partner, and they'd been together 20 years, and he was French and the was American, but when they came to live in Newcastle, they couldn't be together. And he would have ended up, he couldn't get a visa or anything. So the only way he could do it was to get married to a woman. So I heard that woman. And I thought, it's the only right I've got I can give to somebody. And it's not going to mean anything to me. I don't care if I'm married or not. I think if you love someone, you love somebody and that's it. So I went, I'll get married, because I always like a little bit of a show and a dress up.
Did you do a little...
Oh, no, it was only at a registry office.
But still, you got dressed up for it.
Oh, God, yeah. I wore a red, but I had to kiss them and...
Well, you had to.
Well, when, you may now kiss the bride, and I was like...
But may I not?
But everyone, oh, you look so good together. It's like,
Thank you. Thank you. How long were you married?
I'm still married.
Oh my God.
He left the country.
Wow.
There's so many of us have done it in the 90s. I'm not even bothered about anybody knowing.
God bless you.
There's a lot of us have done it because we had friends who wanted to be married.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Especially if they wanted to have children, because to adopt as well. So, I mean, I know people who got married and then said they were adopting the child, and it wasn't only because they were heterosexual.
Right.
But in reality, I mean, people have got to jump through so many hoops just to have that normal way of life that everyone should be entitled to.
And you said this was in Newcastle. Mm-hmm. But I don't even know. Have you always lived in the Northeast?
For most of my life, yeah.
Right.
Since I was about 7, yeah.
What brought you to
my
the
mother
Northeast?
I was born down in Cambridge, and my mother was a midwife down there. But she's from the borders of Scotland, and she came back up to Newcastle because they had quite a few maternity hospitals at the time where women would go just maternity hospitals were wonderful. The big one in Jesmond, which is now a block of flats or something. Yeah. But everyone had a maternity hospital, so that's where the midwives were.
Wow.
Yeah, she came to do that.
So you grew up here in your whole...
Well, I was West Bolden and Bolden, and then we came over to the other side of the river.
And for anyone who may not be familiar, how would you describe, what is the art scene like here in the Northeast? What sets it apart? Or what are some distinct things that make it what it is? Because it is quite a distinctive place. And I have to say, well, for my 2 cents before you say, is that I moved here 2 years ago, and I really was welcomed with open arms and just immediately got so sucked into this wonderful community of artists. And I don't think that would be the case in a lot of cities the size of Newcastle, especially. I think sometimes those smaller places can be quite closed off. Well,
I mean, I often wondered what it was, and the changes I've seen. I mean, we've just had the MOBO Awards in Newcastle. I mean, when I first left school, I was the only black person in a school of 1,000. 1,000. And it was uncommon. It was, and then when I came into Newcastle, you saw more and more brown faces, but you didn't know where they were coming from and what they were doing. They were just there. But there was no strong community apart from the Asian community was really strong. But it was still quite segregated because people kept themselves to themselves. But the changes I've seen, especially, I mean, I always was part of the queer scene from my first nightclub I went to was Rockshots when I was 14. And I used to go there twice a week.
Wait, to where?
Rockshots.
Where's that?
Rockshots, the legendary Rockshots. Rockshots was the gay and gay-friendly club in Newcastle.
Where was it?
It's in Waterloo Street. You know where Dance City is?
Yeah.
In front of there's like an office block.
Yes.
That office block used to be a nightclub above, a nightclub below, and an adult film kind of theatre next door.
Wow, what a loss.
The legend of Rockshots, you've got to find out. It was amazing. And we had all the PA, Grace Jones was there, Divine came, Hazel Dean came, people just do PAs. They travelled the country to come to Rockshots to do PAs. It was amazing. It was the place to be. And if you start doing some research about it, you'll get the stories of Rockshots.
Okay, I absolutely will.
Absolutely amazing place.
Readers, if any of you have stories of Rockshots, pictures, anything, I would love to know. Please educate me. This is fascinating.
You would have loved Rockshots.
That's incredible.
Every night was a different night. Saturday night was predominantly male gay night. Sunday was closed. Monday was a very strange night. Bit of everybody, and drinks were very, very cheap.
Great.
Tuesday was social worker night and trendy night. Wednesday was another gay night. Thursday was definitely communist and social worker night. And then Friday, Saturday, all kicked off again.
Wow.
But it was absolutely amazing. The music was great. It was a high energy scene at the time. We had a drag queen on the door called Hetty. I mean, there's so many stories. I couldn't begin to tell them. And it all happened as well. We had the big, the contaminated blood issues in Newcastle. It was body positive, which was started in Newcastle. And body positive started off with people who became haemophiliacs through blood transfusions, but we also looked after the people who had HIV. And got HIV from blood transfusions, as well as other ways you can contract it. And it was a lovely community, a very, very strong, proud community.
So do you think it has retained some of that?
Very much, much.
Yeah.
Working class, northern. We've always been looking over our shoulder, always been on the edge. We've always welcomed people. I think the underdog has always been welcomed in Newcastle because we've always, the North has always been left out on many things. And there's a warmth there. There is a warmth in Newcastle that will take people in and accommodate. And if you're taken in and listened to, then you can actually thrive. You can thrive. And the art scene in Newcastle has changed so much. And you're right, when I was working down London, it was dog eat dog. You'll go to a big city. Nobody talks about what they're doing. People are scared because someone might take their job or another opportunity. Here, people get together and look after themselves.
Is there anything coming up that you are particularly excited about that we should keep an eye out for?
That I did the outfits for Mr. Gay GB. Andrew.
Yes, and they were stunning.
That was amazing because there was all these people from all around the world entering, and some of their outfits had been made by couturists, and me and Andrew made them out of my leftovers, and I think actually there's some part of my underwear in one of his outfits.
Great.
And
sustainability.
Sustainability. I had washed them, and there was curtains, there was everything, and we put it together thinking it looks good, but everyone's going to have fabulous outfits. We won 7 categories on outfits alone.
Can you explain just briefly for readers at home, what is the competition?
The competition is Mr. Gay GB, not Mr. Gay UK. And basically you get a number of entrants from around the world come to one place, and it was Alnwick Gardens. It was a lovely day.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I went to Alnwick Gardens, and we had people from Russia, Poland, England, Scotland, all over. And it was a pageant, basically a pageant, and a congeniality kind of thing as well. And it was a lovely, lovely day. And every different category, we put a different outfit on. So we had Aquaman, Andy was Aquaman, and then he was, who else was he? Oh, he was a masked Dorothy. That was Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, but as a man.
I did see that one. That's quite good.
I love that one. I love that one. And then there was the Tudor rakish gentleman, which I like with, it was the doublet and hose and all of that. And it was just such fun making up these outfits. When you haven't got any money, you just use your head and you think, how can I make this? How can I make it really good? And Andrew's a great model anyway, if you're watching, Andrew.
You've got great charity shops in Newcastle.
Tell me about...
I don't know what it is, but I needed 3 outfits yesterday, and I went out £3, £3, £2.
Did you go as far as Biker?
No, I just am in town usually.
Well, you have North Shields.
Okay.
Because I've got a little we've got a little shop in North Shields, which is vintage and art, things that people have made, pre-used, you name it, it's all in there.
What's it called?
It's called Odd Hours.
Odd Hours?
That's
look adorable.
In Howard Street, next to the Globe Gallery. Open Thursday to Sunday, and we sell a bit of everything, but a lot of vintage and pre-used clothing. But the charity shops in North Shields are amazing. The charity shops in South Shields are amazing. So if you go to Jarrow, then go to South Shields, get on the ferry and get over to, so you can spend a whole day.
Just the circuit.
Honestly, you'll spend so much money, but there's some really good stuff.
It's wonderful.
I really enjoy it. I mean, I'm addicted. I'm addicted to charity
Once
shops.
you start,
you can't stop.
You can't. Where's this from? This lovely shirt, by the way.
That's vintage.
It's beautiful.
Only thing I buy fresh are my underwear.
For those of you who are listening along, it's just a beautiful, big. I just love a big.
I do like a big collar.
Big collar. It's wonderful. Just like a pointy.
A dagger collar.
Dagger collar. It's red. It's got kind of trees.
Yeah, 70s
along it. Yeah. It's wonderful.
But I love dressing up. And I think as I'm going to get older, you can just do what you like anyway, can't you?
Absolutely. I think
anybody can do what they like now. It's lovely to see, especially young kids. The little boys when they come along to the workshops, they're making headdresses and they're putting on jewellery, and it's like they're going, "Don't I look lovely?" Because you look absolutely fabulous. A few years ago, they couldn't have done that without somebody saying, oh, boys don't do that. Now, somewhere along the line, kids are actually starting to learn that there's no such thing as gender.
It is so, I mean, I know that there's a lot, it is a bit of a dark time in many ways, but some lovely things keep happening. They really give me hope. I keep talking about this, but I was in Disneyland recently, and I just saw a little boy in like a big, like slightly too large, dragging on the ground Elsa dress.
Oh, fun.
And it just, I don't know, gives me hope, makes me happy.
It does, doesn't it? It really does, because it just means it's opening up so much more. Not only just in things you can wear, but how jobs you can take, roles you can take in the world. It'll change those attitudes. I mean, the things that gender norms and gender stereotypes do are dangerous. But once you actually say there is none, it's amazing how much gender affects everything, from politics to your job to your relationship. Everything is affected by gender. And who made those rules up?
Exactly. Once you realize that and kind of harness it, you can direct it any way you want. Like, it's a wonderful tool.
I get quite excited because I mean, I won't be around in 60 years' time, but I would like to think that we've moved on so much that we'll talk about gender in the past in historical ways, like, oh yes, I remember when. Back when. And there will always be people who, they've got every right to actually adhere to whatever gender they want to. But do not make it that your gender is the only one. Let anybody do, because we're just these amazing creatures who can be whatever we want.
Speaking of gender, Disneyland Paris, if you're listening, the dearth of Mulan merchandising in the parks was very disappointing to me. I think you should have one princess wearing pants. Just one. That's all I'm asking for. Also, that is, just one of the best films you've ever made, so I don't know why you're not putting it in the... You've never seen Mulan?
No, I've never seen anything by Disney after 1972.
What happened in 1972?
I decided that I didn't want to watch any more Disney.
I mean,
and
I'd
watched everything that, I mean, I was like, Fantasia was one of my favourites, Snow White.
Beautiful.
All the original, I call the original Disney. But I have seen Pixar, and I think the animation now is absolutely amazing.
It's gorgeous.
And I can see why young people want to watch it again and again, because it's got so many layers. I mean, the layers that are in a Disney or a Pixar film and the narratives are so intelligent for the child, for the adult, for whoever's watching. Remember, old-fashioned Disney was slapstick and a lovely girl saying, when's my prince going to come? And, I mean, they were magical, but they weren't actually breaking down any barriers.
No, but bring back the slapstick, I will say. Now we've got the depth, so we can have the slapstick, too. Yeah. I miss it. Oh, God, it's good.
Well, I liked the old Hanna-Barbera, the Scooby-Doos, and Roadrunners. There's people chasing each other and knocking people on the head with handles and just stupidity. I just like that stupidity. It hasn't always got to be a lesson to be learned.
You are doing some learning at the moment.
Oh,
I believe after this, you've got some learning to do.
Oh, we're working on an installation with the Globe Gallery, and it's around mental health and well-being. And we're creating flowers, giant flowers. Some are out of paper, some are out of plasticine.
Incredible.
The plasticine connection is the man who invented plasticine comes from North Shields.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, where would you find that one out?
Oh, there you go. Well, here, on Chatti Patti.
Yeah, on Chatti Patti. And he actually, the original recipe is still a secret.
No.
But I think it's got crude oil or something in it.
Yeah, well,
that makes sense. The smell of plasticine has changed a little bit. But it was made and patented in North Shields, and that's where the plasticine man comes from. And there's an artist called Kitty who we're working with, and she paints with plasticine.
Wow.
She makes it, like if you were using an oil paint.
Yes, and you can
do that, and you do it with a hand or with a... So she's doing it with, and then it dries. So it's like oil, but it's really thick, and it's a wonderful medium. And she's just graduated, and she's doing really well. It's a lovely medium to work in, and she's working a lot of community work as well. So we're making plasticine flowers tonight, and that's for an installation at Tynemouth Station, the metro station.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to chat about?
I'm busy I think I'd mentioned that I would like to write again. I'm busy mulling over a ghost story, a queer ghost story.
Incredible.
The idea came, we went out with Curious to Seaton Delaval Hall. Mm-hmm. Have you been there?
Yes.
Cold.
Famously haunted place.
So we were there, and we were downstairs in the area which had been servants' quarters, and there had been a cellar, and it was freezing cold. And I was thinking, I wonder who lived down here and who worked down here. It must have been really cool. I mean, there would have been a fire on, but it wasn't factory central heated, was it? And then I learned a lot around, especially just after COVID, there was a thing, the National Trust had put a list of all the great houses in the country who had connections to slavery, which was like all of them.
Yeah.
But nobody knew much about the Northeast because we didn't have that big black community. We didn't have so-called links to slavery in the slave trade. There's a lot of abolitionists from the North and from Scotland, but a lot of people made their money, especially around shipping and around mining, investing. They invested abroad. They didn't so much bring people over to work or whatever, but the money had been made out of the slave trade. So I was looking into that, and then I thought about, well, I'd seen on some photographs, oil paintings, when you've got the Lord and the Lady, and you've also got a little black boy at the side.
Yes.
And you often wonder who was that child and where they came from. And I started looking at that and thinking, I wonder if a little boy like that was in Seaton Delaval Hall. And, when there were black people in service in the north of England, the freezing cold, away from, everybody, not just in London, I mean, but just on their own, how they survived and what their worth was and what they did. And there's another story I have to tell you about that in a minute. Anyway, so I started writing this ghost story about a little boy who had died in the cold, because it's cold up there. He'd been banished out into the winter night by his owner, the person who bossed him about and was very nasty and owned him. And he died of hypothermia. And it sounds all very sad, but anyway, he comes back as a ghost. But he also comes back to another little boy from this day and age, from this century. So they're actually they've both got the same kind of issues. They both had troubled childhoods. Whether you can say being a slave with a troubled childhood is more than that. But they get together on a commonality, which I'm not going to share, and this is where the ghost story starts. And between them, they actually solve the mystery of why this boy from the 16th century died. He was actually, he was murdered, and it was hushed up, and he had, and they actually get the family and say, this is what you did to this little boy in 16. So it's a ghost story, and it's a cold case as well. But
this sounds incredible. Mm-hmm. Wait, what kind of form do you write in? Is this a novel? Is this a screenplay?
No, I would write it because now Netflix do what I call the longest films in the world.
Yes.
Which is brilliant, because at one time you think, oh, it's going to end in a minute. And you think, with Netflix, it's going to end in days.
It could go on forever.
And you sit and watch. Your tolerance for binge watching and your tolerance for wanting the story to continue and continue it gets higher and higher. Mm-hmm. So when it's like 13 episodes in, you think, oh, that's not too bad. And then it's 26 episodes in, you think, I have just watched 26 episodes of a story. One time you'd watch 2.5 to 3 hours and be happy with that, but not anymore. So I'm actually looking at it, as in maybe 4 parts, but it's historical. Right. When I was doing some research around black presence in the northeast of England, I came across a little picture of a little boy who was in the Durham Light Infantry, and he was a little black boy, and he was from Sudan, and he was a mascot for the Durham Light Infantry. This was at the turn of the century.
No.
And so I wondered, how did he get here? And basically, when the Durham Light Infantry were in the Sudan, and murdered and killed and did things. This little boy was found by the river. He was only 2 when he was found. He was called Jimmy Durham. It wasn't his real name, obviously. And he was brought back to a pit village near Durham, and because he could speak a little bit of Arabic, he learned to actually translate just little bits and pieces whilst he was in the Sudan, and they came back over here, and he was taken in by a person in the army, and he grew up, but he was always a mascot. Like, it was him and the goat, and the pictures of him. So anyway,
so what, he had to go, like, travel around with them?
Yeah.
Wow.
Durham, so anyway, I learned about him, and he actually married a local girl. And the local girl was white.
It's just County Durham?
Yeah, County Durham. And I actually met his daughter before she died.
No.
And I got the story, and basically he got married to this girl, but he died quite young. I think he got TB or something. But his daughter ended up in service because she was mixed race. And I met the daughter when she was in a care home, and it was very strange because she painted her face white every day.
Even in the care home?
Even in the care home.
Wow.
And I went, and she just had never, ever admitted to being anything other than the person she was. She didn't admit to being black. She didn't admit to have any of it. And as she was getting older, she started talking about her father and learning about her father, who was this guy called Jimmy Durham. So if you ever go onto YouTube or go on to any kind of the research, you'll see a picture of Jimmy, and I've got a picture of his daughter, and their life, and just how people end up, especially people, diverse people, minorities, how they end up in the strangest of places. People think that, the minorities have just come from God knows where. There wasn't such a thing as homosexuals, remember, until 1980 or something like that. People think anybody who's different, it's just happened. And it hasn't just happened. We've always been around. And it was how especially with this girl, how she survived her life. The only way she could survive after her father had died was go into service, and didn't get married. As I said, she painted her face white every day because no one was there to say, by the way, be proud of who you are. And your dad actually was an amazing man. And it was just, it was lovely talking to her, but I felt everything that she'd lost and hadn't been able to have. But the story of Jimmy Durham is out there, and it's a very interesting story. That's just one of many, many people of either minority, ethnic origin or sexuality. Their stories are out there, but they're only little, and they should be brought out.
That's wonderful. I'm going to go look him up. I'm going to research him. That sounds so fascinating.
There's some good stories out there, and I mean, the stories everywhere, but the North has some really good stories.
Yve, thank you so much. Where can people find your work if they want to stay abreast of all of the many things that you're doing?
Well, obviously I'm on Facebook, as most people are, but...
that's Yve with a Y, V-E, Ngoo, Ngoo.
If anyone's interested I'd like to move on my stash of Black Northeast history to date, because I think it's ready to be rewritten, because things have changed from when I actually started writing it. But I've got a lot of information about the Arab community, the African community, the Asian community, all people who worked and contributed to life in the northeast of England.
Incredible. Just things that you've gathered over the years.
And families who, blended families and mixed families and stuff like that, how they've survived. People who went, the black miners, black steel workers, all these people who you didn't actually realise, they were all worked and contributed to the northeast. And
you're looking for people interested in carrying on that
work and contemporary. We've got so many new communities here now, and I'd like to actually get them to actually start putting things down audio like this on podcasts, photographs, just making sure that we're keeping the contemporary history growing and going. And also, it's not just stuck in a time when there was oppression, when there was racism, when there was laws stopping people from doing things. we're actually now in a place where we should be all equal, and I want some of the nicer things to be documented as well, as the struggles. Yeah. So every community, whether it's gay, whether it's black, whether it's Chinese, whoever it is, their story matters, and I think if you can document it, even if you're not going to read it, somebody else will be interested in that. And if you're interested enough to be here, you're interested enough to be listened to. And I think everyone should actually look at their own history and their own heritage and say, right, I'm going to write this down, because one day someone will, like me, will want to drag it up.
Exactly. You come knocking saying, I want to know about your great-great-grandmother, and exactly. You'll have to have that information.
Yeah, definitely.
Gosh, I could talk to you all day. This has been absolutely wonderful.
Well, it's been lovely talking to you. I mean, we go from one thing to another, and it could be anything, but I can talk the hind legs of a donkey.
Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you. And anybody who got any information for me?
What's the best way? Facebook?
Facebook, definitely. Instagram, you'll find me. Or talk to Patti, and Patti will...
Oh, yeah, of course. I can point you in that direction.
Curious Arts, yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning in to my fascinating conversation with Yve Ngoo. Yve, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Patti.
Chatti Patti is a podcast from Curious Arts, hosted by me, Patti Boo Rae. The show is edited and recorded by TJmov. TJmov also designed our logo. Production assistance from Max Easter and Rayanne Bose. To see more about what Curious Arts is up to, go to their website, curiousarts.org.uk, or follow them on Instagram at curious_arts. To get more from me, follow me on Instagram @_Patti Boo. Thanks, y'all. Chatti Patti.